Welcome to the Longevity Man podcast, where we delve into the minds of extraordinary men who have embraced self-care and longevity. My name is David Ito, a holistic life and wellness coach. We discuss all things longevity specifically for men, from healthy lifestyle choices to expert advice and inspiring real-life stories that will help you take action towards a healthier and longer life. Welcome, guys. This is another episode of Longevity Man podcast. And today we have a really interesting person, part of our Facebook group. His name is David Barnitt, and he has done something really novel, really interesting with his yoga practice. And we're going to hear all about it today. So, David, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm 60 years of age, David. I live on Long Island. I've been practicing yoga for about 17 years. It's been a great journey. It's been a great benefit in terms of fitness, mental health, meeting people, community. It's helped me immeasurably in my business, which is a very high stress occupation. I just can't say enough good things about the yoga journey and the community of people that I've discovered practicing. And it was really out of many of these different reasons that I eventually came to want to develop my own program that utilized a lot of the basic movement and asanas that I've learned through it.
Can you tell us a little bit about why you got started, why and when you got started into yoga and mobility, self-care?
I would say I have an interesting background. I'm a father of triplet daughters, and my wife and I had there was a lot of energy and a lot of activity in our home. And so we both had to learn how to deal with all the activity in the home. And one of the things right around the great financial crisis in 2007, 2008, there was a lot of economic uncertainty, and I saw it with my clients. They were going through difficult periods, and I realized that I had to adapt and I had to find holistic ways of getting the stress out, as well as focus more on exercise and fitness. So I'd say in 2007, I started a yoga practice at the local gym, and it just sort of grew from there.
What were the signs of the stress? What were the signs that your body, your life was telling you, like, you got to take care of yourself in a different way? You've got a lot on your hands, a lot on your shoulders. Like, what were you feeling that really made you say, all right, it's time. Now's the moment.
I think a couple of things, David. I think it was the stress of the financial pressure being a small business owner. I also think my job is heavily consultative, where I'm helping other business owners through difficult transitions, similar to what you're doing in your coaching. And a lot of that, you have to be in a good place to be able to hold space for those individuals. And you have to, so if you're not in a good space yourself, you're not strong enough to be able to hold space for others. And so I found myself at that time, I want to say that the half a dozen clients that I had, they all they had very urgent needs, like life or death needs with respect to the viability of their businesses. And I just felt that I had to invest more into my outlook, into my energy, into my mental health, essentially.
Yeah, that happens to so many of us. It's only when things start to hurt, either physically or mentally or emotionally, that we finally decide to do something about it.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, things have to hurt enough. All right. So let's go straight into your amazing program. I can't wait to hear the details about it. You called it Stretch Odyssey. Why did you start it? Tell us about the background of this program.
The origin story of the program is one of my feeling that there were not enough programs targeting middle-aged suburban men, primarily where their children have left the home. They might be empty nesters. Most of their social calendar was not theirs when their children were growing up. They might not have many friends. And I felt there was a lot of males were sort of casting about after the pandemic. I think the pandemic underscored the epidemic of loneliness that exists for middle-aged and older men. So I felt, there's a lot of really good guys in the yoga community that I belong to, and I just felt like a targeted program on them, like gathering the guys together would be a positive thing. And we can just go to the studio. We do it on a night where there's not a lot of competition. We kind of turned it into a little bit of a speakeasy. And I felt that if I could focus on this demographic, that there would be a way to gather them and to sort of create something from people reaching out and trying to, connect more on sort of an in-person physical basis, as opposed to this all too omnipresent virtual basis.
So tell us exactly what it is. The name sounds amazing, Stretch Odyssey, very like cinematic. But tell us exactly what happens in Stretch Odyssey.
Well, I'm honored you think it's cinematic, David. I've heard a lot of things about the name, but I've never heard that before. Stretch to me is a never ending exercise. It just never ends. You're supposed to do it in the morning. You're supposed to do it in the noon. You're supposed to do it at night. You're supposed to do it before you work out. You're supposed to do it after you work out. Much like the classical character Odysseus in Homer's Odyssey, he takes forever to get back home again. I feel like stretch is something that we always should be doing. And as a result, I wanted to name it in a way that people like it's not something that you're ever going to achieve a great milestone result through stretch. You're just going to feel better. So in a way, by calling it Odyssey, it's a never-ending process. It's something that you're always going to be on this road. You really don't have to judge yourself. It's similar to yoga in that respect. Like everybody comes to the mat with their own life experiences. And I feel with stretch, it's the same way. Some people say, well, I'm too tight. I can't stretch. And I'm like, well, that's why you need to be stretching. So it almost takes the excuse of it's not goal oriented. It's a constant unending process.
I love it. I mean, yoga in a way is the same.
Yes.
There's never perfection in yoga. It's always the journey, it's the practice that we focus on. And I believe that you've taken that same approach with Stretch Odyssey. What's the mission of the class? Who goes to your class? What kind of stretching happens in the class? Take us through. Like if I walked into your class,
Sure.
what would I be doing?
Well, I'd welcome you. I'd shake your hand and I would say, what kind of beer would you like to drink tonight?
Okay, beer. We like that.
So it breaks the ice that way. It sort of is a way of saying, we're going to have fun and you're going to have a beer. And I've had people say, well, I don't drink. Can I still come? And I'm like, of course you can come. But like the way we break the ice and we try to make it seem less pretentious is by offering a beer, which is sort of in the spirit of generosity. We would then stand around and talk for 15, 20 minutes. And I'll usually have a classic 70s album, a Billy Joel album, an Elton John album, a Fleetwood Mac album playing in the background. And then we're usually having such a good time. We're just talking about how our week went, talking about our kids, talking about what we're doing ahead, talking about what's going on in the world. And then finally I'll say, hey, let's go stretch. And then we'll go into the yoga room and we'll start stretching.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, I've never heard of something like this. I don't know if there's something, maybe people are doing it just organically. They didn't even plan it. They're just having a beer. They're getting to know each other or they're catching up on each other's lives. And it's like, how about we stretch? Maybe few people have done that, but I've never had the luck or chance to do that. Now, how do people who don't have a yoga experience or even a stretching experience create a stretching routine, create like a habit of stretching? How do you approach those people who don't have that yoga and stretching habit?
What I do is I am there on the mat showing them and demonstrating to them the different stretches. So we start with upper body stretches. We basically are working our shoulders, we're working our neck. We work on a stretch that I call our chin stretch, which is a almost an antidote to all of us constantly being in front of our phones and sort of scrunching at our necks. So we stand and we stretch our chins, and then we gradually work down the lower part of the body. And then we do some yoga moves in the stretch. One of the reasons I call it Stretch Odyssey is because there is a bit of a barrier with men in terms of yoga. A lot of men feel that yoga is something that women do. I'm always telling people that I know that you need to do, I'm always telling men that yoga is one of the best things you can do. You need to do it. But a lot of people, there's a bit of a barrier. So what I do is, even though we're doing stretch, I do put in some asanas. I sneak in some asanas. It's sort of like getting a little kid to eat their spinach. And I'll say at the beginning of the class, well, we're not going to do any yoga tonight. And all the guys will say, yeah, yoga. And then I have them doing yoga 15 minutes later, and they don't realize it. So it's a little bit of a, there's a little bit of a playful deception in that regard. But um, I think people that don't stretch that have come to the class, I just show them what to do through just watching me, and we keep it really slow and we keep it really friendly. And I'm constantly communicating with them and telling them, this is what you want to do, this is how you have to do it. So you really need no prior stretch experience.
Ultimately, what do you think guys get out of this beyond the stretch?
I think what they get is they understand that there's like-minded men, what similar to themselves, who need want to form a friend group. It's really a way to build a friend group, and I think it's one of the great benefits of all yoga practitioners is that they're community builders. And I think the community that I'm a part of, Motion, does a wonderful job of building community. And I see how the community just makes everybody's lives stronger and enriches it to the point where you have spin-off groups within that. But there were no spin-off groups just for men. So what this gives men is a sense that there's people out there, there's people that are going through the same things that you're going through. Everybody has the same problems with their health. Everybody has similar problems with their children. Everybody has problems just in general life, and that there's somebody that you can come and do something as simple as having a beer and stretch and listen to some great 70s music. So there's essentially companionship in a way, friendship.
Love it. I think guys, people in general, but guys have trouble
Yeah.
connecting with other people in beyond the logistics of life, beyond the job, beyond talking about whatever sport that they like or activity that they like, but like to really open up. And what I find is that whether it's yoga, whether it's calisthenics, whether it's mobility, it's just like when you start moving, just the mere fact of moving the body moves the energy within us. And that movement unblocks things. And once you do that, obviously you're going to be able to connect with your peers, with the people around you in a very different way. And so I'm sure a lot of the people watching this episode are thinking, like, wait, I don't want to know more about that beer. Like, because, beer, one beer, two beers, three beers. Are we getting tipsy? Are we getting, more than tipsy? Or like, are we not even getting tipsy? It's like,
No,
how,
not yeah.
how does
Yeah.
that
So
work out with the yoga or with the stretching? Sorry.
so there is an exercise component to this. So we are stretching, and we have also blended in calisthenics, and we've blended in complex mobility moves. We have a focus on the hips. We have a focus on the lower back. We do Warrior Two. We do some variations on Warrior Three. We do Sphinx. We do variations on these where I in my yoga class at Motion, it's a very aggressive form of vinyasa yoga, and we move so quickly through many of the moves. I just like some of the stretch or some of the in between movements, and so what I've done is I've sort of distilled the in between movements from these complex asanas from yoga class and brought them into this stretch class. And in doing so, it's a 50-minute class. It has a first half, it has a second half. We usually take a couple minutes out of the middle in order to work on our beer a little bit. Um, Nobody really finishes their first beer until they get to the end. And then what usually happens, David, is that and you know this because you're a very experienced healer and a very experienced yoga practitioner. The measure of the quality of the class and the social experiences, do people hang around afterwards? And is there that, are they talking afterwards, and are they bonding afterwards, and are they really enjoying themselves? And have you created something other than just a fitness class? And what usually happens is after we're done stretching, everybody just stays around in the room and they keep talking for like another half an hour. And then I say, who wants another beer? And then after they're done talking for a half an hour after the class, we'll go to the front of the studio. And then it almost turns into a little bit of a speakeasy. So it starts socially. then we stretch, then we usually hang out after the stretch, and then we go to the front and we usually have like another beer or two. So it's a real kind of end-to-end experience.
I just love the fact that it happens very organically. It sounds like people are really enjoying their time, and stretching is really important, but it's not the only thing that they're getting out of it. They're really getting the social, they're getting the mental health, they're getting the physical, they're getting the connectedness to oneself. So you're offering really something, all the things that are needed in modern day society. That we're suffering from disconnect, we're suffering from derealization, depersonalization, people stuck on their
That's a
screen.
great word.
And you are offering exactly the antidote or the medicine, let's say, for all of those issues. So um where are you taking this Stretch Odyssey? It's how novel is it? How's the evolution? Are more and more people signing up? How are you promoting it? Where do you want to take this?
We're promoting it through the community, and we're getting a lot of the male members of the community. In addition, we're getting a lot of the husbands of the women that come. And they say, "I'm going to make my husband go to your class." So we're getting those members, and then we're promoting it through the yoga studio Kokomotion. We are expanding it. We're going to get a website going, and I'm very interested in working with you to try to create more of a program platform for it because I do think this can be easily rolled out and replicated to the extent you have somebody that really take all it takes is somebody to want to be nice to people and knows some basic stretches, and you just kind of get people there and you say we're going to stretch, and you mix in a few other things so there's a little bit of a sweat. It's really just basic things that we're doing, but I think it has a lot of potential because stretching has become such a major focus of the fitness industry, and really nobody's focused on middle-aged men stretching.
And as we said before, a lot of guys only start to take care of themselves when things hurt. And when things
Yes.
hurt, it's because already there's like significant tightness, significant, like mobility issues. So luckily you have an offering. All right. So um if people want to find out more, if people want to reach out to you with questions, with schedules, like how do they go about that?
They can contact me through, they can direct message me through your wonderful group. And I think I'll be able to get them the information. Right now, we're offering it at the Coco Motion Studio on the North Shore of Long Island. It's out near Port Jefferson. Very charismatic individuals that own it and run the studio. And so we do it weekly. We're going to be accelerating that. As I get closer to my real job retirement, we'll be accelerating the pace of the stretching.
All right. So just to recap, if you guys want to reach out to David to find out more about his program, it's through the Yoga Studio's website, which is cocomotion.com.
Cocomotion.com,
All
correct.
right. And otherwise, through his Facebook profile, David Barnitt, I'm going to add that in the video caption, or through our Facebook group. The last question before I let you go finally is, what is one message, one suggestion, invitation that you have for guys 50 plus, 60 plus, how do they get started to take care of themselves?
Explore breath work and to breathe hard. The fundamental benefits of breathing are overlooked and not very well understood. But I think if people learn how to breathe and do box breathing and 8 seconds in, 8 seconds out, and concentrate and then extend that into a small meditation practice, I think that that's a wonderful way to start. And that will get them into the benefits of just the benefits of like breathing will get them to see the benefits of more advanced movement. I think is a way it's an easy entry point.
I am also a great, a total supporter and advocate for breath work. It's something that I do as soon as I wake up in the morning. I start doing my breath
Okay.
work in bed. That is a way for me to start activating my body, to start activating my the lymphatic system, which is our detoxification system. The deep inhales, we already know that activate that lymph movement, oxygenation, It calms the nervous system, vagus nerve activation. I mean, there's so many wonderful things. Maybe we need to create a podcast just about breath work, you and I, in the future.
I agree. No, breath work has taming the autonomic nervous system and taming the fight and flight response. If you can get your hands around that, you've accomplished a lot in life.
All right, Dave. Well, thanks so much for your time. It's been wonderful to have you in the podcast. And guys watching this podcast, reach out to him if you're in Long Island, if you're in the Port Jefferson area. Hopefully, they're going to have a website soon just for Stretch Odyssey. And who knows, maybe he'll take this show on the road and end up somewhere close to you.